The most overrated hero in the game is 1-1. She's so weak that you should never even consider banning her. Okay, this was a lie. She is in fact the most OP hero in the game right now. But you know, I just would like to have more games with my main. Okay, I will speed up the intro before you guys start to skip ahead. Hello my friends, so I went through the heroes ranking, made a community post with over 650 comments, looked at the most valid tier list, which I only did two, and also had a close look at the MSC Heroes pick or ban list to find out which heroes are the most overrated and maybe even more important, which heroes are the most underrated in the current beta. Woo! Also, if you haven't done already, please subscribe. We're so close to hit 100,000 subscribers, and I would love to create this special video I'm planning for this milestone. Let's begin with the first overrated hero in my opinion, and this is none other than our boy, Yin. I just recently took one of my wife's account to make a quick ride from Epic 4 to Mythic. Yes, there's going to be a guide about this whole journey. And while my teammates were banning heroes, I was just like, oh boy. As of recording this video, he's still the 4th most banned hero of all. And my question is, why? Yes, he's not a weak-ass hero like some other almost forgotten heroes. And with his ult, he can easily target squishy enemies in the early to mid game. But he can be countered by basically any hero. The first and best counter is of course to not pick a super squishy hero in the first place. There are so many awesome junglers who are tanky right now like Akai, Balmond, Thamos or Basha, just to name a few. If you play a squishy mage or marksman though, then Purify would be a good spell for you. Since then, you can avoid getting stunned before Yin beats up the ground and somehow kills you with it. As mage, you could also just buy Winter Trunction to become frozen, and as marksman you just build Wind of Nature to become immune to physical attacks. Both items counter Yin perfectly. If your hero has a dash skill, you can also just avoid his stun with the right timing. And with instant stun abilities like from Eudora for example, you can just burst him to the moon once he comes close to you. Or you make sure to not even get trapped in his ult. Just be extra careful around bushes and keep an eye on the minimap. As squishy hero, you shouldn't run into bushes mindlessly anyway, and keeping an eye on the minimap should be the easiest of your tasks. So yeah, there are just so many counters for him, and I'm sure I even forgot to mention something. To further prove my point, we can have a quick look at the list. In the latest MSC, Yin got picked or banned exactly 0 times. Yes, the meta in a professional environment is different from usual chaotic solo queue games. But if a hero is very good, this hero will be picked at least sometimes. In 𝐳's tier list, who is the EVO's legend coach by the way, so he knows his shit, Yin made it to the A tier with an almost S tier flag. And this is exactly where I see Yin as well. He's a good hero, and no one should complain when you pick him. But there are just so many other heroes in the game who you should ban before you would even consider banning him. Basically all heroes who are in the S tier list. So yeah, Yin is a good hero, but really overrated by many inexperienced players. And not ban-worthy at all. By the way, I would also love to hear your takes about which heroes are overrated or underrated. Let me know in the comments. Next I want to talk about the hero that is almost not used, although in the current tank meta, he should be right up there with the other fighters in the jungle role. And this is my favorite tin can, Jawhead. I was a Jawhead main once, and my second ever video was actually about him. So I know a little bit about this hero. He has a pretty low win rate right now, and I think that's because the few people who still play him wrong. They use him either as a side laner or as a roamer, but for both roles they are just better choices in my opinion right now. There is one role though where he can still shine a lot, and that's the jungler role, if he has the right teammates. Jawhead is a hero that is super strong in the early to mid game, but falls off heavily once the late game and the big gank starts. If you have heroes in your team though who shine in the late game, he is a hero who can support them on their journey perfectly. Such late game heroes are for example Sicilian, Claude, Carry, and especially all those marksmen who deal a crazy amount of damage with a full build, but have almost no chance to survive on their own in the early game without help, like Mia, Leslie or Layla. As Jawhead, you can support these kind of heroes very well with these two features. Firstly, he's very good at invading the enemy's jungle. Because of the huge damage his first skill deals to a single target. So for example like here, you just walk to the red buff of the enemy and quickly steal it before the enemy even noticed it. Then you move on to your 2 buffs and boom! You're already on level 4, while the enemy's jungler struggles a lot to get to this point, because you just stole one of their buffs. This you can continue throughout the whole early game, and even when you can't steal it, you can always reset the buff with your second skill. Secondly, he's one of the fastest rotators in the game because of his second skill, which means you have the potential to help out at all 3 lanes. When buying rapid boots, you are just flying over the battlefield. And because you are very strong in basically any 1v1, you can get a ton of kills in the first 7 to 8 minutes of the game. In the early to mid game, you will have many opportunities to find your enemy 1v1, because everyone is stuck at their lanes. And because of all the kills you collect, your late game teammates have the ability to quietly farm and get their items. So once you fall off the cliff, they can take over the carry role, and you basically can take over the role as a secondary tank. I would strongly suggest to use a tank or hybrid build with him, because even when you have a full damage build, in a 5v5 your damage is just too low as that you could make a big effect. Better soak up a lot of damage for your teammates, and support them with your CC abilities. To further enhance the idea of picking up Jawhead, he just received a buff with the latest update. So starting to pick him up now before the new season starts might be a good idea. You know what else would be a really good idea? Re-downloading Mobile Legends right now with Aptoid. You get basically more diamonds for the money that you have spent, as you can see on this neat looking graphics that I have made. And also support me and my channel with it, so I can make more awesome videos like this. The step-by-step guide with all the facts is in the description box and also in the pinned comment. Back to the video now. The second overrated hero is one that gets mainly overrated until the lower mythic ranks. And that's our boy, Estes. For me as a 1-1 main, he can be annoying of course. I just activated my ult and could kill the whole enemy team, and then this fucker arrives and just heals them all. So you have to play around his healing abilities, by either attacking only when he is away, buying Sea Halberd to lower the heal on your current target, or just straight up kill him before you wipe out the rest of his team. This is the only thing that makes him annoying though. You just have to play around him a bit and be smart enough to not jump into a gank when he's ulting all of your enemies. This is where his pretty high ban rate of over 10% comes from. Many players don't want or are unable to play around him, mostly because they probably don't know how to do that. They probably don't even know that there are anti-heal items in the game. And with anti-heal items, you make Estes almost useless. You can also counter him by just picking a one-shot hero. If the enemy is dead before he can heal them, you have no problems anymore. And if it wouldn't be enough to have multiple ways to counter his healing, he has nothing else to offer than that. His second skill is basically useless against any hero who has a dash skill, which pretty much every meta hero has available, and since he is also super slow, he can be easily catched by the dash skill heroes. So yeah, I think I've made my point clear. There's really no reason to ban Estes. And in lower ranks, he is super overrated. Next we have another underrated hero. There are many overrated heroes I could choose, because I had like 10 of them in my mind from the get-go. The second hero I want to mention though is our lolly queen, Lolita. She had a very short spot in the sunlight before she fell down the cart faster than me while being drunk. She was also almost not mentioned in any comments. And the people who main her also want her to stay a hidden champ. Well, that's hopefully over now because she's awesome. Her first skill is awesome, especially in the early game. You can just dash toward the enemies and bonk them on the head. Apart from the stun, which is very nice of course, this skill surprises many enemies because it deals quite some damage. It is awesome to finish off enemies and to secure our kills. That her shield is awesome against any marksman, I don't need to point out I think. But one thing I can point out is that when you absorb a lot of damage with it, you can completely destroy an enemy with it. And with her ult, you can't only destroy one enemy, you can destroy the complete enemy team. If you fully charged it, you stun the enemies for 2 seconds, which is insanely long in a fast-paced game like Mobile Legends. Don't forget, when you charge it from the bush, the enemies won't see you. So their reaction time is much shorter and you have a good chance hitting them. And also don't forget that you slow the enemies before for 2 seconds by 75%. Any dashless hero is completely fucked if they are in the middle of your fan. Also don't underestimate her damage again. On the maximum level, you deal 1300 damage plus 200% physical attack. Yes, you won't have physical attack items usually with her, but still, that's a lot of damage for a tank. You see now why she's so awesome? She's very tanky, she has one of the most insane stun abilities, she deals a good amount of damage for a tank, and you can counter so many heroes with her, especially all those cancerous marksmen. And even though her ult can be avoided, when you have the right timing and use your flicker to your advantage, you basically only have to land one successful ult to turn around the whole game. Now for the next overrated heroes, I want to go even further down the elo hell. I was originally thinking of putting Selena on the 3rd spot, because with her pick rate, she seemed a little overrated for me. But after playing her for one match, I decided against it because if even a Selena noob like me can play with her so well, then she deserves to have the rank she has right now. Instead, I decided to combine a couple of heroes, who I saw way too many times while solo ranking to Mythic. Mia, Zilong, Hanabi, Layla, and Leslie. The quintuplets of doom. No, not them. They are... Okay, let's not go there. I get it. These are the heroes many of us played as their first hero. But when you're already in legend rank, have over 1000 matches with them and a win rate of maybe 45%, you should realize maybe that there are just many heroes out there who are just better. If you're just playing for fun and Mia is your favorite hero, that's alright, I can live with that. But since these kind of players are most of the time the most toxic ones, I can understand everyone who's hating these heroes. And yeah, I just played a whole game with Mia to prove my point. And I was so good that we actually won the match. Fuck! Next we have the third underrated hero. This may be a little bit favorism. Favorism? Is that even a word? Now it is. Favorism on my side. I'd choose my favorite cockroach, Helcurt. Once he was the most banned hero for a very long time. Then Muton completely penetrated him with their nerfs, so he wasn't usable for a very long time. Now after they have buffed him, I played him many times and I must say, he is really underrated right now. Only with your existence, you make the life of any CC specialized hero a living hell. Especially for those heroes who have to get near to you, since they will be silenced whenever they use any CC effect on you while they are in your attack radius. So any 𝐷𝐻𝐻, Kadita, Aldog, Tigreal, and so on user will hate you. Apart from that, you can also support your team in any gank by just blinding the enemy. A very good Helcurt user is not only using his ult to jump on an enemy to kill them. Nope, they wait for the perfect moment so the whole team benefits from it. But yeah, you can also use it to just blind your prey, jump on them to silence them, and then do just the most horrible things with them. Another thing you shouldn't underestimate is his ability to push. Something that is very important in my opinion when you play solo queue. Especially in lower ranks like Epical Glory. When your team sucks and you lose big time, you can use him to just split push or try to backdoor the enemy. And if the enemies are coming to get you, you can use your ult and get the fuck out of there. Afterwards, you push somewhere else. Since he benefits from the effect of Demon Hunter Sword since his recent buff, you can also use a hybrid build by using the item Thunderbelt. And other defensive items that give you HP. If you don't know anything about the items, make sure to subscribe, because there will be another round of item guides coming soon. Since the overrated heroes are already out of the way, let's continue with the next underrated hero, which is Valir. Now, Valir as a mage is good in my opinion. There are better options, but he's very solid. But then I tried him out as a roamer and oh boy, I had so much fun with him. You build Demon Shoes for more mana, Ice Queen 1 for the slow effect and boom! You become an endless stun and slow machine. As long as you're able to hit your first skill on the enemy of course. With your first skill, you slow the enemy by 40%, plus another 15% from Ice Queen wand. With the second hit, you increase it by another 15% from Ice Queen wand again, so you slow the enemy by 70% in total. If they try to dash towards you, because every hero has a dash skill nowadays, you can just use your second skill to knock them back, and continue your fun fire party. After you have hit the enemies 3 times with a skill, they're stunned for 1 second. Which has a cooldown of 7 seconds, but hey, with the right aim, you can slow and stun multiple enemies non-stop, while still dealing a good amount of damage, even when you use a tank build, which I would recommend when you use him as a roamer. So, if you really don't like to be a roamer, I would highly recommend to give him a try. Being the roamer has never been more fun to me. Now before we move on to the last underrated hero, I want to give a quick shout out to some underrated heroes. They didn't make the top 5, but I was definitely considering them for this list. Barret, Uranus, Glue, Florine, Freya, Basha, and Alpha. Now to my last underrated hero, which is none other than the beautiful Lunox. She just got a huge buff with which she can take down the Lord by herself now. Don't believe me? Just wait. With her second skill maxed out, she deals 5% of the target's max HP as magic damage. And in the current tank meta this means, she can melt down any of those tanky heroes easily, because with her Chaos ult, this skill has no cooldown for 4 seconds. Just look what happens to the Lord when I'm on max level and have 3 core items. You can almost single-handedly melt him down in 4 seconds. This also works in real matches, as you can see here. So whenever there's a tanky jungler, you can easily hard counter them with Lunox now. Apart from this ability, you also have a light ult, which lets you become invincible. If you have an idiotic Jawhead as an enemy who doesn't know this, you have a very easy time on the battlefield. It is also not very hard to learn him in my opinion. You just need to make sure you have the light ult ready when you roam around, and to be able to switch to your chaos ult by using your second skill only once. You know what else is really underrated? This video where I talk about the 10 things Munta must change. Make sure to watch it and give it some love. See you over there!